Hello, this is Seiji Nakano. Welcome back to the Grey Area. Martha is not talking at the moment because we're going to take a little bit different and unique episode today. So, just to give you an introduction, the Grey Area, we talk about many different elements of kindness and compassion in this world from our wacky point of view. And today, we decided I am going to interview Marta because she has recently published a book. So, introducing Marta Gèpe, now an author, illustrator, and a great inspiration to many of us. So, hello.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm not used to these. I'm like,
I know.
I'm used to say, hey, I'm Marta Gèpe, welcome here. But thank you. I think it was a great idea. I feel very excited about it. It's like,
I know.
oh, okay.
And also, you're probably gonna feel slight awkwardness in the beginning because I'm also not used to leading this episode or this show because Martha is always the one that leads. So
I'm not used to not lead. I'm
Yeah.
not used to just go with the flow on things.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit and relax. And by the way, he didn't tell me anything yesterday. Like we had meeting, and he was like, just sit and relax. And I'm like, oh, that's gonna be really hard, man.
Yeah,
But,
I kind of meant that this wait and relax. So sit back and relax on the really stable board, but I hope it's not gonna sink. So
Yeah.
let's see how it goes.
It's not gonna say, oh, come on. And you just put in such a great note on the interview. Everybody who's listening to this is gonna be like, oh, let's see what's coming.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. So just
Yeah.
to introduce Martha. Well, wait, how long have we been known each other? Since
For a year.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Well, we've known each other for longer, but actually we became friends last year.
Last year, well, in the
Yeah.
in dark time probably, and then
Yeah.
and then since beginning of this year, I think we started talking about many different things and kind of really from me as a friend, I always found Martha being extremely inspirational, and it always helped me to slightly push myself to do something I was interested in or do many different projects. And well, this time she actually pushed or got extremely excited to publish a book. And kind of wanted to ask her how she did that and how she achieved that, and also wanted to share how awesome she is. So you're both.
Thank you, man.
So Martha was born and raised in Seville, Spain, and
Well,
is it not?
I was born in Córdoba, actually.
Oh, oops, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I was born and then I left to Seville, so actually it's only tradition that I was born there. Yeah, and that's it.
Sorry,
but I was raised. I consider myself more from Seville.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't find that information online.
That research,
online,
yeah.
so
how bad?
That's bad. And then you moved, or you moved to Austria for 1 year, and then you studied translation and interpretation at some point.
At some point in my life, I studied. I studied translation in Spain. Then I did in English and German, and I couldn't get any placements in England, so I chose Austria because I like rats. And so my final year of university, I finished my degree in Graz. Didn't improve that much my German, I have to say, but hey, it was cool. It was a cool year. Cool. Everybody who's Erasmus knows. So
and then and then you speak 5 languages that they.
I survive in 5 languages.
You can wing.
I can wing it in 5 languages if they force me. But yeah, it's 5.
But it's okay. Just going through all your profile, it's so amazing that how diverse that is. That you got the certificate in the life coaching and the brand management, and also you did the course in the children's picture book. Then you have been illustrating, and you were recently longlisted for LDC Award 2020, and that's a
That's
lot
how
of
it all started.
that's a lot of different things that you've been doing, and then also you teach Spanish history and Spanish as well, is it? Or
I do. I work with the A levels and I do culture and speaking. So I do the speaking part mostly, and then that's
And then you've been the podcast personality with me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the keeping the blogs, and now an author. How do you feel? Well, I mean, her book is called The Quarantine Diary, A Story of Lockdown. And, well, I have known that the contents because it started from the lockdown, the beginning of the lockdown. And it's 56 consecutive days of her everyday diary. And it's quite interesting. Well, I kept reading that every day, and it's quite extremely heartwarming, with quite a lot of quirky sense of humor that I found that right. And also quite honest, and also quite relatable. And I always found that your diary to be extremely, I don't know, it's quite uplifting to read, rather than sometimes someone's diary could be quite energy draining. So about that book, before that book, why did you decide to do the diary?
Maybe it was a codeine. I was high codeine. No, I mean I usually journal on a regular basis. I've done it for like a long time already, and it helps me vent off and just like kind of express my feelings and just let it out. And we've been talking about journaling before in the different episodes, but when the lockdown started, I decided to stay in London. I didn't want to go back. Also because, I mean, the beginning of the book, or the beginning of the diary, is I was recovering from a kidney infection. And I just didn't have any energy to take a flight, go to Spain, see what happened. No one really knew. So anyway, I just decided to stay. And I spoke to my family. They were all right with it. I mean, they didn't have any other choice anyway. But I felt that it was a strategy for me to let them know I was doing fine. I tend to, well, because I live abroad, I don't know, everyone who lives abroad might feel in a similar way sometimes. I want to keep my family, I don't want to worry my family. And sometimes I just protect myself. I just build this kind of shield, and I'm like, I'm doing fine, I'm doing all right, everything is okay. Maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not going through the best of times, but I used to have that tendency. Now I think it's lowering down since the diaries. So, the motivation was, no bullshit. This is it. This is how my day's gone. And they know exactly how I'm feeling. And if something happens and I'm not feeling all right, then I'm going to talk to them beforehand and say, hey, on next entry, tomorrow's entry, it's not going to be that nice because I feel a little bit low. So it was a way of connecting with them, first of all, and let them know I was all right, I was doing fine. Because, they're worried. I spend, and I'm still alone here, I mean, I have friends and everything. It's not that I'm alone. But it was a time when I just didn't know how long I was going to be in a room with a balcony, confined, and I'm asthmatic as well. So it was kind of like, you're going to lock yourself down for a while, and no one really knows what's going to happen. So that was my first motivation. And the second motivation was maybe some other people find, they find themselves in similar situations and they feel lonely or they feel alone in that feeling. And or maybe they're like, I'm just losing it. And then they feel like, it's something's not right with them. And I really wanted to put it out there saying, hey, I went through these things and maybe you feel connected. And then it was a way also of helping in the best way I could, which is I have a blog and I've had it since 2018. I hadn't been using it for a while. And I thought, well, I'm going to use it, which is great. And then I'm going to vent my feelings off. And it was a very good way of keeping spirits up because I would just vent off in a physical notebook. Yeah. And then the next day I would edit it. And then I would revise the day before. And I would be like, oh, it wasn't too bad. Okay, that's fine, And, I have a tendency of finding challenges to go for. It's like adventures. It's like, okay, cool, adventure time. I'm just gonna have, and being locked down in I mean, it's a room with a balcony, but I live in a house. It's not that I'm in a prison or anything. But it made me, I don't know, kind of focus on the different things the day brings me instead of looking at every day is the same and I'm doing the same, but just a way of forcing myself to look at the details. Yeah. And I think it's a way of, it was unconsciously a way of keeping wellness in the way I knew best. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in a way that you're trying to illustrate your days differently too. It's quite interesting that you started with the for the kind of purpose of family connections, and you're writing it to let them know that you're doing okay. And obviously it was quite scary time, wasn't it? That I still remember that when the lockdown started, it's like, what the hell is going on now?
I know.
And when you were saying that the it's like a journal. Well, it is a journal. So you you let it out by writing it. So obviously when you write down some of the days, you said that some of the posts were quite depressing for you. Or some of the posts were sometimes you just talk about some that you want hugs, or you feel extremely upset about that day. Did that? Well, obviously you contacted your family before you posted it, or do they, after reading it, do they always contact you just worrying about you, or are you okay, or
well, my dad did, I mean, he would read me and he would give me feedback, and it was more like the kind of creative feedback, like, oh, I like that style, I like the way you did it. And he, I mean, most of the lockdown I was doing all right, you know, I was absolutely fine. I'm lucky I had the psychological tools to get through it. That's why I was kind of like, this is all right. My mom would ask me sometimes what happened, and I'm like, oh, it's okay, you know. So, and also, I mean, I have that way of saying things. Sometimes they can be a little bit over exaggerated, and but it makes it funny. That's why you know, it's like my writing style, and it was like that kind of little pretty. But yes, I had sometimes my mom calling me like, is it okay? But I'm happy she did it, you know. I mean, obviously, but sometimes I would write things down, and through a conversation I would just clarify it, or maybe she would, towards the end mostly, she was kind of like, you need to walk. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything towards the end because you have to read the book. But yes, it triggered sometimes, but most of the time they would laugh at it because they know how I am, and it's like, oh yeah, there she is venting off the way she does. And they were really happy they knew. I mean, there was nothing serious, And just the fact that I was finding something different every day was a good sign. If I had spent 3 days in a row, 4 days, or a week in a, only in bed, not doing anything, that would have been a bad sign. That would have been the sign, red flag, actually. Yeah. But they didn't. And so everybody was kind of, I think it relieved them. So they would just like check on the blog and and the music and
and towards the second purpose that you had for the blog, that eventually that got to that stage more, for sharing your experience and in a way sharing the positivity to other people, the sharing your experience so you can laugh at it too, or how did you get any responses from people around that when you started?
Yeah, I had some friends who wrote me and they were like, "Oh, I really like it because I felt that way," and it's kind of like helping me to just keep it up, and it just gave like positive vibes, and that was the aim. It was like, well, I'm doing these, and they liked it. And also, like, every day is a song. Like, the title of every day is a different song that kind of just gives a mood of how the day was. And they liked it. They were like, I listened to all the songs and all the music and it's really great and it's really helping me. I don't feel that alone. Like some friends were at that.
How did you get that playlist idea? Did you always wanted to do that, or did you just naturally did that?
Just it started with Let It Be, which is day 3.
Yeah.
So the first 2 days are not a song, and then
I realized that the first one was that the egg is the new gold or something. Right?
Yeah. It started off like that.
I tried to find a song, but I couldn't find that song. So probably
no, they're not songs. I'm sorry, it's not yet. Maybe. But the third day was like, oh, Let It Be. That's a really cool song. That it's kind of like the day how it went. It's like Let It Be. And then the next day there was another song, and then the following day there was another song, and it kind of, I started to build a very close relationship with my playlist, and it was great, because I just pushed myself to, not push myself, but I just felt really creative listening to the songs and thinking, oh, what's today gonna be like? Oh, maybe it's a Sledgehammer Day, maybe it's a Salisbury Hill Day, because of whatever reason. So
do you always decide the song of the day before you start the day, or you put the song after?
I didn't put the song. I would just find it. That was the way it rolled. Yeah, I would just put, I mean, I have Spotify. No ads yet. But I have Spotify, and I always put like random playlists, like playlists of daily playlists, and that was the aim. It was discovering what was up. And I discovered many groups and many songs, and it was all like just kind of seeing what flows. And maybe I was listening to one and I was like, oh, this is more or less, and it would come towards the end of the day or the following day when I was editing, and I was like, oh, this was a day of whatever, So
because putting those song of the day really started started illustrating your day fully. And obviously I know you as a person now, so more extremely expressive, and you're a very illustrated person. So that reading everyday diary like that, really, it was quite comical in that sense. And also that the song, association to the song, really helped imagining, well, for me to imagine how your day went.
That was but it was never, I would never wake up and say, oh, today's going to be this song. No, I refused to do that. It was like nothing planned. I'm just going to leave the day as it is and take everything as it comes. And that was my aim. and then see, and then just can build up. It was the same aim as the blog. I mean, I didn't put myself, I'm gonna stay for 2 months, because no one really knew what was gonna happen. So I was like, I'm just gonna let it roll as long as I feel it's right. And then when I feel I have to end it, then I'll end it,
Nice. And then when was the time? Well, because you're just doing that as a blog post, but when was the time that you thought, I'm gonna publish this?
When I had 3 weeks of confinement, I was like, this looks like a book, but it wasn't the initial aim, because I didn't really know. But when I finished, it was I think it was towards the end of May.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to put an end to it. And some of the people who read me were like, why? And I'm like, I just feel like it just needs to stop now. I don't see the point anymore. So
what changed at that point?
Well, we were in lockdown, strict lockdown, and then I was able to walk back again. I was able to go out because the measures were kind of easing down little by little. So it wasn't strict lockdown anymore. It didn't make any sense anymore, because it was about the strict lockdown. I stayed at home for 2 months, and I only went out 4 times, only to the shop, and then I would go back. So I wouldn't go for a walk. I wouldn't leave my house for 2 months, which was pretty extreme, but that was the way it was, because I was pretty scared and wary. So when I started to walk, I thought, makes sense that it just, that I don't know, I just kind of feel like this is it.
Yeah. Kind of end of era kind feeling.
Yeah, somehow it was like, okay, this is the end of the period. And then some of my friends were like, why? And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's it. And then, I don't know, I was on holidays on like half term.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe I can put everything together and see how that goes. And I was talking to my dad about it, and he said, well, maybe you want to put some illustrations in some other of my friends, but like, you have such cool drawings, why not, adding some illustrations? And I thought, that would be cool. Yeah, why not? So I just kind of put everything together and did the drawings, and it turned out to be a 425 pages book.
That is a massive book for
like, why not?
And how long did it? So what really impressed me, and also what really surprised me, was that how short term that you actually decided to publish the book, and then you actually did that. It's like, how short was that?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading Brené Brown's Dare to Lead book recently, and she says something like, I'm not very good at setting realistic time goals. Like, I feel very optimistic when I'm setting projects and deadlines, and it's like, oh yeah, next month I'm just going to do this and that. And I thought, oh my God, I love you so much, because I'm the same. So initially, the point was, I'm going to publish by mid-June. Like, in 2 weeks' time, that was around end of June.
Yeah.
End of May. And I said, yeah, it's all right. I can make it, because I just have to put everything together.
True.
That's done. Editing's done, because I have all the posts and stuff. And I just have to do the drawings, and I'm okay with that. So in 2 days, I did like 32 watercolors. And I'm all right. I'm inspired. That's all right. And then the preface hit, and I was like, I can't do it. And all my family was like, maybe you need a rest. Like, you haven't stopped for like 3 months, and you should really have a rest. I was like, no, I'm fine. I can do this. And when I go on determined mode, it's really hard to take me out and make me rest. But I did, and I'm glad. So basically, that's it. If I want to do something, it's like, okay, let's go, let's do it. Right. And I'm like, oh, just like very fiery and determined, and that's me.
Have you always been like that? Just being into yourself as well. Have you? Because I have the impression about you always extremely full of spirit of adventure, and take that into it's like you're the one of the person who are extremely positive about how things are. Although that it's still very perceptive about the pros and cons and negative part, but at the same time you go full strength, full throttle, and just push the axle to go to that direction when you decide to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty much me. I didn't know about that until I don't know. I've had like, waves of. It depends. I don't think at university I was that way. But it's, I don't know, you're younger and you have other priorities. Oh my God, I don't know. I think I always had the spirit of I'm gonna get it done, and I'm gonna get it done, and this is gonna be done. So that's always been me. I would always find a way of getting things done if I wanted. It's like if I want to, like, I don't care whatever it takes, I'm just gonna get it done. So I think I've always been that way. But recently I think it comes with maturity somehow. Like I don't know. I was studying a master's degree. Okay, let me reframe this whole thing back.
Fine.
I've always been this way, but ever since I live alone, like on my own, and I'm independent and stuff, you kind of rely on yourself. Yeah. Basically, and living in London, it was a good training of if you want to get something done, it has to be on you. Yeah. And even though I've always had a, very adventurous spirit, like I sneaked in a Disneyland Paris casting. And
I was going to mention that too.
And I winged it. But I just think it's kind of I don't know, the turning point was when I moved to London, first of all, because I just, I had some savings and that was it. I didn't have a job. But I did a master's degree and I worked full time. Everything was full time. Yeah. And I was really scared and I did it. And I had a good grade in my master's degree. And I was alright in my job as well. And I was like, I think I have a capacity to get things done. So I think that's when everything kind of started going in a stronger way, But I've been very strong-willed when I want to get something done or when I want to achieve something. I'm really determined.
So at the moment, how you're seen, at least to me, is that you're very extremely aspiring and inspired by your motives too, and
thank you.
So that's why I always mention that you're like a rainbow, but not a rainbow anymore. You are more like a stained glass. So
that's so nice.
So
thank you.
That your childhood that you slightly mentioned about that Paris story. I love that. I love that the Disneyland Paris story. It really illustrates how the way that you wing things, and also when you talk about the Quarantine Diary, and you spend a day and see how it goes, and you always have that kind of you're always energetic, but at the same time. Also have the side of being quite laid back and see how it goes. And that balance is always, I always found that quite rare to have that balance.
Is that how I look?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of work behind, lots of lots of you need to chill, and you have to ask my parents about that and my sister, and they would be like,
I should have brought them here. So
you should have brought them. You know my sister. You should have said,
true.
Hey, how is she actually? Join the conversation about her.
True.
I'm so glad and I'm so happy that that's the image I project, because it's I strive for that balance every day. I know I can take many things because I get very excited, and then it's like I never stop because I'm excited. I like learning new things. I like doing different things. That's how I found myself in London. Somehow I thought I wasn't that kind of person, and then I was like, oh no, actually I like having different projects at the same time. That's the way I don't get bored. My mom usually is like, I'm really tired already, and you haven't even started the day, and you're telling me everything you're doing is like, do you want to stop? But I think when it comes from the passion and it comes from the heart, it's easy to be carried away by the energy of it. And that's what happens to me. I'm a very creative person, and when I just feed all that creativity, and I'm surrounded by people like you and
thank you.
All the friends that they just like, we feed each other knowledge and creativity, and we're just kind of like, I don't know, pushing the creative boundaries somehow. It's easy to feel the energy. I don't know. I'm a very energetic person and very, high spirited, but it's also about the people around me. So that keeps me going.
What kind of reminds me of is that especially as you mentioned, it's keeping that passion is continuously keeping that passion fire on is the hardest part. You can get extremely excited at one point, and the fire could die quite easily, the flame could die quite easily, but you seems to be always finding the different fires and different flames, and when you find that, you're really good at maintaining it. And it is a quite rare skills. And I always found that your skill on the winging thing, so that you're going to that laid back mode that you have, that the relaxed.
I love that laid back mode, which I never felt. Like, I'm not laid back at all. Now I'm laid back. Confinement made me be, but
honestly though, that how we record this podcast, you are always the one that laid back one. I'm always the quite uptight one before the episode. So you're and also I need a structure normally, and you are really good at seeing how it goes and changing the structure how it goes. And something that I find it extremely talented things to do.
Thank you.
So the way
that it's not nerve-wracking for other people, it is.
But the way that you actually talked about the how the day goes, and also would you mind sharing the story about when you worked in the Paris, the Disneyland Paris?
Paris. Yeah, sure. I mean, I put it on my bio in Amazon. By the way, the book is available on Amazon Kindle. Just saying.
Oh yes.
It's £3. So
and also the link is available in the description too. So
so it's on my Amazon bio anyway. I was like, I have to put it down. But before that, I just have to say, it's not an inherited skill. Keeping the flame up. It's been a very hard learning process. I used to be I'm so excited, I'm just going to do this, and then I would get bored, and then I would just leave it. So I had many projects that I left behind.
All right,
probably if anyone types Marta Gpe down, I have like 3 different blogs on WordPress, and I have but some things they pull you back, and it's like, I have to come back to it, and that's when the good thing
by the way, a lot of Pinterest as well, by the way.
A lot of Pinterest, is it? Oh, cool. Wow, I didn't know this. It's like surprises. The illustration was one of them, that I would leave it and then I would come back, and then it's like when it's an inherent passion. But it wasn't made on purpose. It's like when you go out with someone and then you kind of go like, well, let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
You know, let's see how that goes. And then let's see how that goes. And then you kind of feel like find yourself, you've been for 10 years together and you got married and you have kids. You know, it's like that feeling what I had with the diaries, and that I thought, oh, that's a really good feeling. I think this is good. But yeah, going back to the Disneyland moment, do you want the short or the long story? Yeah, I have two.
Let's go for short.
Let's go for short. We have some time. Okay, you're managing the time. I'm being carried away. So the story goes, I was in my final year of uni the year before moving to Graz, and we were going, my friends and I, we had the kind of like the cruise, the, you know, final year trip and stuff like that. And I didn't have any money to pay because it was kind of expensive. And I couldn't ask my parents for it because they were like, no. And a friend of mine, we were singing at the university choir. And it was two of us who didn't know any French. I mean, our main language was English. And then these other girl whose language was French, and she had been living in Paris, so she had all the qualifications to be chosen by Mickey Mouse, you know. So she got invited to the casting. So we're just coming back, and she mentioned this and this other friend of mine, and I am like, can we come with you? And she's like, sure, you know, why not? Everybody else was like, yeah, it's really easy to sneak in. You just have to say there was some kind of like problem and they just let you in. Everybody who would say that had French as a first language. My French was less than GCSE. For anyone who's not in the English category, is rubbish. Like really rubbish. Bad. Anyway, we were studying in Seville, and the casting was in Madrid. So it's like a 5-hour drive. We decide to take the night bus, book a hostel, and then kind of prepare. And I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just have this kind of imagination, and I was like, it's okay. They're gonna switch into English at some point.
Yeah.
It's bad that you're telling me short because it's getting long.
That's okay.
Anyway, we get to Madrid. We have one day to prepare, and I remember we were like, this other friend and me asking this girl, how do you say I want to work in Disneyland Paris? Because
that level.
That was that level. It was that level. That was a level. And I was like, okay, how do you say I went?
Yeah.
I went last year. So if it's like a GCSE speaking exam, I would fail it. You know, that was my. So I just go like, yeah, I'm gonna be fine. I mean, what do I have to lose? That was the point. You know, it's like, I'm gonna stay in the same place anyway. So whatever, let's go. The next day we wake up really early. We're one of the first ones, so we could sneak in properly. And we just avoided each other's contact, like we're not together. And I thought, who's taking control of it? You know, it's like, it's all right. And then there's this lady with a whole list of names, and I'm like, shit. And then she's in French, like, nom, prénom, and I'm like, and I give my name, my surname, email address, and I was like, really? Email address? And he's like, are you stupid? But anyway, it's my self-confidence kicking in. And I just give my email address, and she's like, well, I can't find you. And I'm like, obviously not. And she's like, oh, I can't find you. And I'm like, well, how is that possible? And she's like, well, you're not on the list. And I'm like, well, how could I know? Like, I come from Seville. Like, it's a 5-hour drive.
Yeah.
I just started to like dramatize everything. Oh my god, it's so bad. Oh my god, I just drove the whole way here. Oh my god, I'm so this is horrible. Oh my goodness. And she's like, well, how is that possible? I don't know. How do I know? Maybe there was some IT problem and you just didn't get it. But why? And I'm like, how would I know these plays if I hadn't been invited? And she was like, oh, that's fair. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I swear I didn't know. And I was just winging it. And she looked at me and she was like, I think she's winging it. But anyway, if we're not going to take it, we're not going to take it. So she was like, okay. No, I remember she was like, but who sent you the email? And I'm like, cast member. And I'm like, cast membership or something like that. But who? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm really overwhelmed. I really don't know. And then she was like, okay, whatever. Just come in because I don't want to lose any time. There were like 300 people that day. It was like massive. Yeah. So we got in, and then I thought, well, everything's gonna be in English. Why? I don't know. And then the recruiters, they started to give this speech about Disneyland, la la la. And I was to my friend, we were looking at each other like, it's French and we get it. That's so cool. We're gonna be fine. I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. Yeah. And I put like, you had to choose like jobs and like where do you want to work, and I chose like in a shop and stuff like that. So no, I wasn't any Disney princess and I wasn't dancing or anything because that was the next question. Anyway, we were heading in the interview in pairs, and I was lucky enough to do the interview with my other friend who had no knowledge of French. So we were both like, we're here and we don't know. Yeah. And as I'm queuing for the toilet, there's this girl, she's talking to this recruiter and she's like, I don't really know much French. Like I feel a little bit, I don't know if the level is enough. Yeah. And he said, well, maybe you want to try next year, you know, if you don't know any French. And I look at her and I was like, seriously? I'm going to do it. Fuck it. And I'm like, I'm not going to leave this room. You know. And that's me in determined mode. It's like, I'm going to get it done. Yeah. I don't care. So we get, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I just forgot to staple the CV and stuff. Yeah. And I tried to say it in French. It was really bad. And he was like, you don't know the name of the staple. You're going to use it a lot in Disneyland. And I'm like, I'm really nervous. I'm sorry. So he told me and I can't remember anymore. Anyway, we're doing the interview and my friend, she was acing it. She was like giving the correct answers, like straight, like everything. And I would look at her like, shit, you know, this is not. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Let's see how we get out of it. And he asked me like, what do you want to work in Disneyland Paris? And I'm in French, like bad French, because I went to Disneyland in August with my family and I really liked it. That's what I said. And it's fun and I like Disney. I mean, like in rubbish French. And then at some point, I think I just stopped and I said in English, I'm so sorry. It's just that I studied translation and interpreting, and I've been like for 2 months in Berlin because I failed my exam because I was rubbish in German as well. And I've been learning German all this time, and I just have interferences. So my brain is so full of German at the moment, and when I get nervous, then French doesn't kick in because I'm really like, but I'm fine in English. And he changed, and he just started talking English, and I did the rest of the interview in English. And I'm like, cool. He was like, oh, yeah, your accent is so German. Are you good at it? Yeah, I'm great at it. You know, I've been failing for 5 years in a row, but hey, no, it's okay. And then I just winged it, and I just took the interview my way, and then I got the job.
Right, now, anyone who's listening, do you see what I mean?
But the worst of all is that I thought I was going to work in English. Like, the whole thing was like, I mean, Disneyland Paris, you work in Paris, France, but no, I'm not going to touch any French. I had to go through a 2-day training in French, and I didn't know about that. And I was like, all I can remember is aquel, which is screen. And then that was it.
Okay.
And I had like security, money. I remember I came with this booklet that I had in year 8 of French with the numbers. That's all I had. And I was going to work in Disneyland Paris for 2 weeks on Christmas, which is really busy.
Yeah.
I was like, everybody's going to talk in English anyway.
Yeah.
Not really.
No, not really.
No one. And I would go like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm new, I don't know. And I would just like do my way. Or maybe they were like, where are the toilets? I would say lava, which is over there. But I had no clue. And I was like, I don't even know how to give you directions. So, yeah. But then they liked me and they took me again for ferry. And I messed it up again. And yeah. I don't know.
So after listening this story, I really hope many people would say, oh, no wonder she managed to publish the book in this short time.
Like, why not? Yeah. What do you have to lose?
I know.
That's it.
But that skill is amazing. That's the skill that you pushed yourself, and you also were good at improvising and being laid back in that sense. And you knew where to push. So that's the extremely talented things to do, which is also quite comical things to hear that story. Every time I hear that story,
it's my life.
And also that story is always, I imagine it in the kind of Disney kind of cartoon.
I can make a story
you're moving like Disney characters. So.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. My family says your life is pretty random, and I'm like, I got used to that already. So it's like, nah, I live in the randomness. It's alright. Let it flow. I just flow. It's okay. You know.
All right. All right. We have to wrap up a bit.
Okay.
So, well, about the future. So, well, as according to your parents,
getting interesting now.
Your life is random. So, where is this randomness going then?
Who knows? I'm like, I published a book 6 months ago. I just had on a list actually saying in 2020 I would like to publish a book. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I was actually going to publish it, you know. So just see. All right. I'm not really like, what's my plan? I have no idea because the world is random anyway. Yeah. Who would know we would be in confinement for 2 months and living a world pandemic? No one knew back in January, you know. So I just kind of, I don't know, just see what comes, really. It's when I plan things out very straight. I mean, I like to have plans A's, B's, and C's, but then I'm flexible with the fact that they might change and some things might just come up and then I would take a new direction. So we'll see. Let it flow.
Nice. And do you have, what kind of advice would you give to the people who are trying to do something new?
Just do it.
That's straightforward.
No, just it's like, what do you have to lose?
Sure.
That's it. I mean, that's what I found myself when I put myself in very random situations. Like, you know, like I went through. It's not. It doesn't mean it's not going to be challenging. It doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. It doesn't mean it's not going to be uncomfortable because it will be all those things. Yeah. Most likely. I decided to be kind to myself, and to be kind to yourself is one of the toughest things to do, but I'm determined to do it, and I'm determined to love myself. Yeah. And what do you have to lose in that? Or what do you have to lose in any project? So as long as it doesn't jeopardize any area of your life or anyone in your life, I mean, if you decide to go for, I don't know, just like the Into the Wild movie, that this guy who was into nature, and then everybody's like, hey, maybe I don't see you. Yeah, sure. Probably not. You know, I wouldn't do that. But just see the what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst case scenario? If it's not too bad, then just go and do it.
Nice.
Basically.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I would love to ask more question about that. Well, ask about more about your life, but we are running out. Well, yeah, I know. But if you want to find out more about what she is or how she is, please do read the book, because it does really illustrates how her attitude towards the day goes, and there are quite a lot of hints that helped me to actually think in a way that, oh yeah, I should look at things this way, right? So it might help you to inspire you or start something new or get excited.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Excited about something new.
Well, thank you. And it has illustrations too. So if you want to have a look at illustrations, they are there as well. But yeah, I mean, if it resonates and helps people to just, I don't know, make them laugh. My life is pretty comical. So
they are.
I'm like, I have to share my life with everyone else. So yeah, if it helps, happy to help somehow to everyone. So yeah, thank you.
All right, so may I ask the last question, final question?
Go on.
What is the song of the week?
Song of the week. Of course. I will say Gypsy. I had another one, which is Rock Bottom by Mr. Wives, which is a really cool one. I think it's new. But Gypsy is my favorite song ever. It's like my song. So, and I'm a huge fan of Fleetwood Mac. So, yeah, I would say Gypsy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, thank you so much for your time and telling us all the stories. That was quite funny and interesting.
Thank you. Thank you for deciding to interview me. And,
Well, I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable asking too much personal questions, but yes.
Nah, it's all right. I'm used to it. You know, it's fine. I'm vomiting feelings in a book. After that, what else?
What else? Yeah.
I'm all right.
That's a really nice expression. Vomiting my feelings.
Yeah, that's what I would say in all the press releases. Hey, I've been vomiting my feelings.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So we will be back as normal for the next episode. Yeah. And wherever you're listening or watching this episode, you can find out the details in the bio section to subscribe. So, and you can contact us through website or the YouTube or anywhere else. So have a lovely week.
Yeah. Can I say it?
Yes, do so.
Okay. And treat yourself with kindness.
All right. Bye.
Bye.